So good morning, my dear friends. Welcome back again in history and civics classes for 8, and we will study the second part of the American Civil War, that is chapter number 3. Until now, we have studied, and the main chapter or the theme was that slavery. And we know that the northern states were disliking the slavery, and the southern states were liking the slavery. So many points we have studied. Let's see the other parts of the this American relations, the American Civil War. What was the another the matters and the important things. So here we know that slavery had existed for a long years in America, and that has converted into the American Civil War or the American War of Independence. So it continued to grow and flourish, to develop and continue, especially in the southern states, and after the becoming or separated from the America. And even the northern states wanted, or they tried their level best to stop or to abolish this or to end this slavery from the southern states, that which was known, or which is known, or which was known as the American War of Independence, or we can say the American Civil War. So here we just understand that the slaves were treated so badly, and they used to do lots of work in the southern states. Even they also required the slaves doing all the house doing. Even the southern states were kept the persons, the slavers, in their houses, in their office to do their work, and their life was so miserable, so painful, even after doing the lots of work. So here, however, though a slave did a lot of job, there they were treated just means that means they were doing the lots of the job, too much job every time, all time, in the whether in the industries, whether in the this one in the office or in their houses, but they were treated very badly. They were they were badly behaved by the other people. So these slaves were tortured very bitterly, and their life was miserable, painful, and very harassment life. So they were treated just like the movable property. That means movable property means once we go carry our luggage and go from one place to another place. The same way they also used to carry from the office to the houses and houses to the office. That means just like the movable property. And it was seen only in the southern states, where the northern states did not like. They wanted and they tried, and that's why there was the fight between the northern and the southern states to stop the this one the slavery systems from the southern states, and make the individual rights the freedom, or to provide every each people to have the freedom life and the liberty. So during 19th century, many European countries, including the northern states, they felt very bad, very kind towards this slavery systems, and the kind of the social injustice which was happening. Every society, especially, must have seen in the southern states. And there was a person, William Lloyd Garrison, who has who has led an campaign to abolish the systems, the slavery systems from the America, and which was known as the American Anti-Slavery Society. So therefore, literary there was the literary and some encourageable, or the things to do it in the American Civil War, which was given by the two nobles. That means, can say that for the American anti-slavery, the two persons were there, as who was we can say as the scholars, like the Uncle Tom Cabin, and the another one was by the Hinton Rowan Helper. Both of them tried through their novels, through their through their magazines, and through their speeches, or through their writings, to just show the reality of the southern states about the slavery, and all throughout through their books, that was talking about the Harriet Beecher, who was written in the 1852, and this Hinton Rowan Helper has written in 1857, and both of them have felt very kind towards the slavery, that this slavery life was a very cruel life, very difficult life, very painful life, where the southern states treated very badly, and for that they tried to bring out the every method to how to stop the slavery system for the southern states by inspiring the people. And both these nobles tried to help the people by creating their opinions in the public way, or in the market, or against the institutions of the slavery, where the southern states tried to continue to the slaveries in their industries and their houses even too. So there was the gap between the views of the northern states and the southern states, because northern states, the views was, the ideas was, the thinking was that the slavery is not good, it is the injustice thing, and every man has got the birth, the life, and to live in a free life, where the men are living in the chains, where each chains are connected to each one. So the northern states were the thinking, and the southern states were the thinking that let the slavery continue, because they were depending on the slavery, and that slavery were making them to be prosperous and prosperous. Thus, therefore, they didn't want to stop or to end this slavery systems. So there was so much gap between the southern states' views and the northern states' views, even which grew in a very stronger way in the political department, and in the many wars, which converted into the very in a bad situations. Abraham Lincoln, who was elected the 16th president of the United Nations States of America in the 1861, and he was the well-known person he was well known for his anti-slavery views. He was very he was very kind, and he was against these slavery systems, where he wanted to stop these things. And according to him, he says that slavery was a very dangerous and very cruel system in the southern states, where each human beings are connected to the bad life, or the very painful life and miserable life. So where this Abraham Lincoln wanted to bring the democracy by abolishing, or by ending, or by stopping and finishing this declining the slavery systems in the southern states, to make everyone's life to be free in the country for their life. And on the research of a democracy, he believed that all men are equal in front of God, or in front of the law and the democracy system. And because of these reasons, he did not allow any kinds of the extensions about the slavery in a newly establishment in the western states of America. So he just tried to stop in any cost the slavery system in the western states of America. And during the 1861, they found the Confederate States of America and chose Jefferson Davis as their president. So the 11 slave owning states were South Carolina. There were almost 11 slavery states were there, and almost that names are talking about the Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina. So there are the many these southern states where the slavery was continued, and it was running on that time. So let's see about the main events of the American Civil War. What was the causes? What was the reasons behind the American Civil War? Let's study when the American Civil War broke out during the 12th April on 1861. So when Southerners opened the fire, that means on 12th April 1861, these Southern states just attacked with the guns and fire the Fort Sumter area, where the office of the federal government, that means was situated in the South Carolina. That means the northern states had situated and constructed that area in the Fort Sumter, and in that places these northern states attacked with the gun and even they burnt it. And in such a critical situation, in such a worse conditions, the Abraham Lincoln at last decided to just attack, and anyhow he just declared the war on the southern states. Let's see what happened there. There were the two wars there, almost the first and last. The forces of the northern states clashed with the group of army, and the numerous battles were fought between them. So almost people used to say, we just study in the beginning of this American Civil War, the chapter that The northern states had the powerful in the military by the army, and even the tools and the weapons were having highly developed comparing to the southern states. So here both of them fought together, and at last the result was that none of the states got the victory. But anyhow, later on, the Union of the Northern States stood out as one of the most powerful authority. Both of them fought. Ports of the Southern States Confederacy were closed by the Union Navy at the order of the Lincoln, but which I told that none of the means anyone, whether the Southern States or the Northern States, no one got the victory against anyone. But at last, what happened that the later one, the union of this Northern States, that means the Northern States, stood and made them as the powerful authority. So the Abraham Lincoln now imposed a blockade on the southern states due to the which vessels attempting to enter the southern confederacy were captured before entering. So Abraham Lincoln what did before entering to his areas, that he has made the policies to stop there only and capture them, to not enter in the before the entering in that northern states. So the Battle of Gettysburg, which is considered as the turning point in America into the American Civil Wars, that was fought in the 1863. Robert Lee was there, Confederate general. He was the Confederate general, and he fought the Union Army, which was under the leadership of military commander George C. Meade at Gettysburg. So both they fought there, and the two sides, the people suffered more, and almost the historians used to say that 45,000 people were injured and got the dangerous things, and they were hurted in that in this casualties wars, and during the 1863, the famous speech which was given in the Gettysburg address by the or delivered by the Abraham Lincoln was the one of the most famous the speech in the Gettysburg, which was addressed by the Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln dedicated this national cemetery at Gettysburg to the soldiers who sacrificed their lives. The northern states and the southern states fought there with each other, and we know that 45,000 people were injured, and almost here the many lakhs people died. Not only the 45,000 people injured, but many lakhs people died there. And he had after this 1863, before after the victory, Abraham Lincoln addressed the people and honor them, his soldiers, those who lost their life and sacrificed their life for the nations, for the one nation, for one country, in the name of God, or in the American people. So during the 1864, Confederate Army was attacked by General Grant in Virginia, and American Civil War ended on the 9th April 1865. After the 4 years of the very fearful or the miserable attack, the fight or the very dangerous attack, which was when Robert Lee, Confederate General of the Confederate General, surrendered to the Union General Ulysses and granted along with his army surrendered himself and given his to the northern states. The unity of America was now preserved as northern states won the war, and therefore they lost the battle. The northern states got the victory on the for the purpose of remove or abolish or end stop these slavery systems. And let's see what was the result after the civil wars. So American Civil Wars almost have seen that it was one of the fierce civil war, one of the very dangerous civil wars in the history of America, where nearly, which I told in the beginning, many lakhs, almost 5 to 6 lakhs people lost their lives in this wars, and we know many people got the injured and lost their the parts of the bodies and all these things. And the war had been fought mainly in the south, because the reason was that the southern states became impoverished within a few years. That means they were treating very badly to the laborers, and where the slavery was continued for many years. So northern states, on the other hand, had a very superior industry resources or the leadership, which was held conduct what is ruled by or lead by the President Abraham Lincoln. So these comparing to the northern states were much better than their science and even by the different resources, by the army, by the weapons and the tools, and even their commander, the leader was Abraham Lincoln, was one of the most minded persons who brought and made the victory over the southern states to abolish, to end the uh, slavery systems. The next point is that it established the fact that American Federation was indestructible in union of states and no state had the right to secede. That means after the victory, this union states, that means the American this America Abraham Lincoln, what did that made the policy that no one will be separated from the union of states. No one has right to separate or secede or far from the or away from the union of states. Let's see about the life of the Abraham Lincoln, who has done a very great thing, who inspired almost not only his own country's people, but also throughout the European countries, even not European, even our Indian people also was much inspired by this the victory over the slavery by the Abraham Lincoln. And let's see who was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a very witty. Witty means he was a very popular on about in his speak, like the present day in our in our India, the present Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, who is a very witty, who is very famous in his speech. Whatever he gives the speech, many people like his speech. Just like that. For example, just even not like that. Means more than that. The Abraham Lincoln was very popular in his speech, and his thinking, he's the kind-hearted, and made him as a different person than the others. And he was born. He was born in a log cabin in a Kentucky in the year 1809, and he became a member of the Republican Party during the 1864, and he nominated by the Republican Party for the presidency, and became after that as the president for the America in 1861. So Abraham Lincoln believed in equality of men, and he used to believe in equality, that everyone is equal. Whoever has born, whoever is there in the earth, in the country, in America, everyone is equal in front of him. So he wanted to preserve the union, and he wanted to abolish and then stop the slavery, because slavery was uh, bringing the gap between the each people's the human beings, where the human being was treated very badly and the life was very miserable. So America today owes its unity, give the respect and the honor to the Abraham Lincoln. Because of him only, the America is totally different from the other countries. So he was one great orator, the great speaker, and who has delivered his speech in the Gettysburg, which is one of the best speech in the American history till now. And even which I told in the beginning, that the India also was inspired by this speech, which established, which brought, and which developed the democracy, which given the importance to the democracy. And thus therefore, when India was also under the slave of the American this British government, so they also wanted to bring the democracy in the Indian society, because they were inspired by the this Abraham Lincoln in the how he has done in the American society, in America country. So Abraham Lincoln issued the one and given the impenitated proclamation, that means to give the freedom, and proclaimed in the 1862, which was declared as one of the slavery illegal in the southern state. That means after the 1862, which he proclaimed that everyone will be given as a freedom life, and in his proclamation, no one or even the southern states not have any chance to have the illegal slavery system in its states, and the slaves were granted, and the slaves were got the life as a citizenship, as a countryman, and also got the right to give the vote after this wars. Before that, they were not having any rights to give the vote and fight and have the freedom life or anything. So only they had to do the work of the others under the under someone's command and the other way. There were the 13 American abandoned to the United States. Constitution abolished slavery in the 1865. So almost in the 1865, certain things were there which was stopped in that proclamations that after giving the freedom to the every each country, especially in the southern states. And the southern states supported Abraham Lincoln for this proclamation because after this proclamation, every each, especially the southern states, the people got the chance to live their life in a freedom life and give the vote in the voting system in the elections and anyway. And Lincoln made the plans to repair all the damage, whatever the damages and the ruins, destruction was there in the war between the northern and the southern states for the purpose of free the people from the slavery life and give the freedom life or liberty and equality. And whatever the damages were there, he tried, he repaired, he made the plan to just recover it and heal the persons, those who have got in cure the persons those who have got the injured or the wounds from this war. But unfortunately, this the great person Abraham Lincoln was shot dead by the one mad Southern actor in a Washington theater just after the 10 days of the victory of the Union and where the Southern states or the full America got the free from the slavery life. It was very painful. Like just after the 10 days, he was shot. He was dead because of the mad the Southern actor who killed in the Washington theater after the 10 days. So today we finished the chapter 3, that is the American Civil War, and we'll get the next question by the next day. So thank you so much. Sir, sir,